Confession time. COVID didn't just take away toilet paper, it turned everyday drinkers into bourbon collectors overnight. Then the internet found bourbon. The algorithm demanded more. Flippers smelled profit. And that's how a quiet American whiskey turned to a full blown competitive sport. And honestly, some of y'all are still chasing bottles like it's 2020. What's up, you beautiful barrel chasers? Welcome back to Bourbon Hunter Anonymous, the only place where we openly admit we didn't need that bottle, but we absolutely bought it anyway. Not because we're weak, not because bourbon betrayed us. The problem isn't bourbon, it's what COVID, TikTok, YouTube, and the secondary market did to it. And in this episode, we're going all the way back to where it all started. Consider this the prequel to some of our most popular deep dives. Think of it like the first movie in a bourbon saga. We're setting the stage, showing how ordinary drinkers became barrel-chasing hunters, how shelves went empty, prices went insane, and suddenly, everyone knew a guy. And if you want the full series experience, make sure to follow up after this episode with the rest of the saga, with Bourbon Market Crash or Correction, where we break down the big picture trends and why some bottles feel permanently overpriced. Allocated Bourbons Explained, your ultimate guide to why certain releases vanish the second they hit shelves. Allocated Code, all the tips, tricks, and hacks for navigating the hunt faster, smarter, and with fewer headaches. So buckle up, hunters. This is the story of how COVID turned casual sippers into obsessive bourbon collectors, how social media turned a quiet hobby into a competitive sport, and how flippers, FOMO, and the secondary market finished the job. Consider this the origin story, the movie you watch before the sequels, because by the end of this episode, you'll understand why some of y'all still haven't recovered. Now grab your glass, settle in, and let's go hunting. Let's get this straight right out of the gate, because this part matters. COVID did not create the bourbon boom. The boom was already rolling downhill long before 2020 ever showed up. Bourbon was already growing in popularity. Premium bottles were already replacing bottom shelf mixers. Limited releases were already becoming a thing people lined up for. Blanton's was already a special occasion bottle, not a unicorn. Weller still showed up on shelves often enough that people actually opened it. Eagle Rare was solid, everyday favorite, not something you had to text 3 friends about. Distilleries were investing in older stocks. Consumers were learning mash bills, proofs, and warehouse locations. The groundwork was already laid. Then COVID showed up. And it didn't tap the brakes. It jumped in the driver's seat, floored it, and yelled, "Hold my sanitizer." What had been a steady, manageable rise in demand suddenly turned into a full-on sprint. Years of growth got smashed into months. Supply couldn't keep up. And bottles that once sat comfortably on shelves turned into, "Did you hear about a drop?" group chats overnight. When bars shut down, something magical and slightly terrifying happened. People suddenly realized, wait, I can drink the good stuff at home and I don't have to wear pants? Bars closed. Restaurants were limited. Reservations became a luxury. And suddenly, happy hour wasn't happening outside your living room. Home drinking didn't just increase, it exploded. People who previously only sipped bourbon on special occasions started building home bars worthy of a distillery tasting room. Instead of paying $14 for an old fashioned, suddenly people were buying bottles that had been too expensive before. Better bottles like Blanton's, Weller, and Eagle Rare. And let's be honest, some truly dangerous bottles. High proof, barrel strength releases that had been previously reserved for connoisseurs. Your liquor cabinet went from weekend warrior to retirement portfolio real fast. Neighbors might have heard the occasional clink of ice, but behind closed doors, people were experimenting, mixing, and hoarding like a bourbon apocalypse was coming. Suddenly, your bar cart wasn't just a place to make drinks. It was an investment, a collection, and a flex, all rolled into one. During COVID, liquor stores didn't close. They became, quote unquote, essential businesses. And honestly, that tells you everything you need to know about society. People suddenly realized that while gyms, movie theaters, and malls were closed, the one place they could legally hoard happiness in a bottle was their local liquor store. Retail bourbon sales spiked across the country. Some states reported double-digit increases in spirit sales in 2020 alone. Online ordering exploded. Bottles that used to require a drive to a specialty store were now shipped directly to your doorstep. And a few states even loosened shipping laws, basically saying, yes, you can have that barrel strength Weller and a case of Eagle Rare delivered to your couch, because why not? People weren't just buying bourbon, they were stockpiling it like ammo. Limited releases disappeared with hours. Buffalo Trace vanished from shelves in minutes. Blanton's became the mythical prize at every store. And Eagle Rare? Forget it. If you saw it, you either bought it or never saw it again. It wasn't just about drinking anymore. It was about security, about status, about making sure your liquor cabinet looked like a collector's vault. Just in case, they said. Just in case of what, Steve? Another Zoom call? Another year of stay-at-home orders? Who knows? But the result was the same. Your local liquor store turned into the new Costco, complete with long lines, virtual waiting list, and a black market of friendly neighbors suddenly turning into bourbon brokers. What had once been a casual weekend run for a bottle of bourbon turned into a high-stakes hunt. And if you thought you were safe with your usual favorites, think again. Suddenly, even your trusted go-to bottles were suddenly allocation only, and gone the second the clerk looked away. COVID also convinced everyone that they were a bartender. Suddenly, your friends on Zoom weren't just drinking, they were hosting tasting sessions. Your Instagram feed was flooded with perfectly staged old fashions, Manhattans, Sazeracs, Negronis, all made with bottles that used to be special occasion only. People weren't just pouring bourbon over ice anymore. They were experimenting with bitters like they had PhDs, muddling fresh herbs, infusing syrups, garnishing with Luxardo cherries like their lives depended on it. Bourbon stopped being just a drink. It became a hobby, a skill, and in some cases, a personality trait. That bottle of Weller you once saved for a quiet weekend, suddenly it was a star of a cocktail series on Instagram Live. Blanton's wasn't just a bottle anymore. It was a story, a ritual, and a chance to impress friends virtually. And let's be honest, once you made a cocktail with a high proof small batch bourbon, going back to rail whiskey felt like drinking flavored water. That $50 proof forward pour, suddenly worth it, just for the bragging rights alone. The home bar exploded, from a small shelf to a fully equipped mini speakeasy. Cocktail shakers, jiggers, mixing spoons, fancy glassware. All of it suddenly became part of an essential stay-at-home toolkit. And that's when the internet stepped in. TikTok tutorials, YouTube cocktail channels, Facebook mixology groups. They didn't just show people how to make a drink, they made it competitive. Who had the best ice cube? Who had the rarest bottle? Who can make a Manhattan so perfect it earned a like before it was just even sipped? COVID didn't just make us drink at home, it created a generation of amateur mixologists with serious FOMO. And that, my friends, set the stage for bourbon to go from enjoyable pastime to full blown content fuel. Suddenly, there was no travel, no concerts, no eating out, but somehow, plenty of money for bourbon. People started treating their liquor cabinets like a shopping spree disguised as self care. That $50 Weller, suddenly a reasonable purchase. Blanton's for $60 to $80, justifiable. And those rare barrel strength or older releases, Eagle Rare 17, Weller, or limited Buffalo Trace mash bills, people were adding them to carts like they were essentials, not luxuries. Well, I didn't go on vacation this year. Click. I skipped a concert. Click. We haven't eaten out in months. Click. Congrats. Your vacation is now liquid. And by Thursday, it's gone because let's be honest, you drink it. And the higher the proof, the better it felt. People weren't just buying bourbon, they were buying experience, thrill, and bragging rights. Barrel proof releases, instant excitement. Older age statements, status symbol. Limited editions, proof that 2020 wasn't entirely wasted. We were. Even casual drinkers were suddenly collectors, spending hundreds, sometimes thousands, on bottles they wouldn't open for months. And honestly, who can blame them? When your daily life shrinks to your couch and your Zoom calls, that special bottle feels like a little pocket of adventure, sophistication, and rebellion all at once. COVID didn't just change drinking habits, it changed how people valued bourbon. And once you add in social media, the next level hype, and flippers sniffing profit, that $300 bottle is no longer just a bottle, it's a target. And then the internet found bourbon. Forums, Facebook groups, YouTube channels, TikTok tutorials. Suddenly, your home bar wasn't just a bar anymore. It was content. It was a classroom. It was a battlefield. Visual tastings popped up everywhere. People were sharing photos of their latest haul like it was a trophy. Groups dedicated to comparing mash bills, proofs, and warehouse locations exploded. Is this bottle worth it? Posts became daily scrolling fuel. And yes, we can all admit it. New flippers emerged almost overnight. You weren't just drinking bourbon anymore. You were learning it, learning about it, judging it, sharing it, and competing with strangers online. Suddenly, Buffalo Trace wasn't just a good sip. It was a post, a brag, a point of pride. Blanton's wasn't just a bottle. It was proof that you were in the club. And Weller, well, it became the unofficial national currency of FOMO. COVID created new bourbon nerds, deep diving into mash bills and barrel proofs, new collectors, hoarding limited releases for fear they'd vanish. And yes, new flippers, scanning shelves like hawks and turning bottles into cash. Social media didn't just amplify interest, it accelerated it. FOMO entered the chat, and allocations were doomed. The quiet hobby of enjoying a good pour at home had transformed into a fast moving, high stakes game of scarcity, visibility, and desire. And just like that, bourbon stopped being only about flavor. It became about knowledge, timing, and social validation. Miss a drop? Miss a post? Miss a flex? That bottle might never be yours again. Before TikTok and YouTube really got involved, bourbon was chill. Shelf bottles stayed on shelves. Allocated releases meant harder to find, not impossible. People drank bourbon more than they posted it. There were collectors, sure, but they mostly kept to themselves, savoring a bottle of Blanton's, savoring a rare Weller, or hunting down Eagle Rare releases quietly, without needing an audience. Then social media showed up and asked, what if we turned it into content? Suddenly, bourbon became a spectacle. A bottle wasn't just something to drink, it was a story, a post, a trophy, and a trophy waiting to be earned. And TikTok and YouTube, they don't care if the bourbon is good. They care if it gets clicks. Nothing gets clicks like, you'll never see this again. Top 5 bourbons you must buy now. I found this at MSRP. The algorithm rewarded scarcity, shock, and flexing. Creators leaned into it, feeding the frenzy. Limited releases weren't just rare anymore. They were currency for likes, shares, and comments. A single viral post could empty shelves faster than a Friday night at the local bar. Blanton's became more than a bottle. It became a symbol. Weller? Everyone wanted a piece. Eagle Rare? If you saw it, you bought it. And don't even get me started on Buffalo Trace. Social media turned bourbon hunting into a full contact sport. Social media didn't teach people how to drink bourbon. It taught them how to display bourbon. Bottle on the car seat for Instagram, bottle on the kitchen counter for TikTok, bottle unopened because value. Owning the bottle became more important than tasting it. If you couldn't post it, did you even find it? Limited releases weren't just about flavor anymore, they were bragging rights. Sealed bottles were investments. Open bottles, acts of courage. The hobby of drinking became a competition of visibility, knowledge, and timing. Social media transferred bourbon from a personal pleasure into a high stakes sport, where every bottle found, photographed, and posted was a point scored. And everyone missed? Well, that's a loss you felt deep in your whiskey loving soul. YouTube did something powerful and dangerous. It gave people education about mash bills, proofs, and distillery history, honest reviews and tasting notes, context for limited releases and rare finds, transparency that liquor stores had never offered. But it also created armchair experts who could school anyone in the comments. Proof snobs were argued over 107 versus 114 like it was life or death. Mash bill debates that showed up at every Thanksgiving dinner. People learned just enough to be confident and dangerously influential. Suddenly, you weren't just buying bourbon, you were buying credibility, proof of knowledge, and bragging rights to flex online. Then came TikTok, Instagram Reels, and 30-second attention spans. Short form content didn't explain bourbon, it compressed it. 30 seconds to say, this is rare, this is expensive, you should want it. No nuance, no context, just dopamine hits. One viral 30-second video could empty shelves nationwide, turn a $40 bottle into a $120 secondary market unicorn. They created overnight unicorns that collectors fought over like they were Pokemon cards. And distilleries, they can't speed up aging just because TikTok popped off. No matter how viral a post gets, bourbon still needs time in the barrel. And that's where the disconnect happens. The market got ahead of supply, and consumers felt it immediately. Liquor store employees everywhere felt this firsthand. Do you have Blanton's? No, sorry, it's an allocation. I saw it on TikTok. Yeah? Okay. This guy said it's the best bourbon ever. Social media replaced taste, exploration, and personal preference, and it was replaced with validation, flex culture, and fear of missing out. If the internet liked it, people needed it. Now, immediately. A quiet hobby of enjoying bourbon had turned into a frenzy of algorithm driven desire, form FOMO, and shelf clearing mania. So let's clear something up though. Bourbon didn't disappear because people were drinking it. It disappeared because people were reselling it. Once upon a time, bourbon had one job: to be opened and enjoyed. Rare meant special, not profitable. The secondary market existed quietly, almost like a whisper between collectors. Then someone realized, wait, this bottle doubled in value overnight. And just like that, the vibe changed. Bourbon went from a drinking joy to liquid gold. Flipping culture didn't creep in, it kicked the door down. Suddenly, bourbon became an investment, a hedge against inflation. Better than crypto. Well, almost. People stopped asking, do I like this? They started asking, what's it worth sealed? And once that mindset spread, supply didn't stand a chance. Limited releases disappeared faster than social distancing rules were enforced. Flippers didn't just affect buyers, they reshaped the entire retail experience. Stores started hiding allocations, creating loyalty programs, keeping backroom bottles. Why? Because they got tired of the same guys clearing shelves, reselling before the bottles even hit the parking lot. Regular drinkers, they got burned. Flippers didn't care if the bourbon was delicious. They only cared if it was scarce, and social media made sure everyone knew exactly what they were missing. FOMO got weaponized. Flipping thrives on fear. You'll never see this again. Buy it now or regret it. Market price is climbing. And here's the thing most people don't talk about. Once you see a bottle selling for 2 times, 3 times, even 5 times MSRP, your brain rewires. MSRP stops feeling real. Shelf prices feel like deals. And distilleries, they notice. Flipping normalized insanity. A $50 bottle suddenly feels like pocket change until it disappears entirely. Flipping culture split bourbon into 2 camps. Drinkers, they opened the bottles, they chased the flavor, and they shared the pours. Flippers, they chased the profit, hoarded the inventory, and guarded sealed cases like Fort Knox. Bourbon went from a community experience to a competitive zero-sum game. So here's the uncomfortable truth, hunters. COVID didn't invent bourbon hype. Social media didn't invent desire. Flippers didn't invent demand. But together, they compressed 10 years of growth into about 18 months. This multiplied demand beyond reality. It made bottles into status symbols, flexes, competitions, and yes, paychecks. No distillery can age whiskey fast enough to feed that machine. Bourbon culture changed forever, and we were all along for the rides. So, hunters, now you know why shelves went empty, prices went insane, and everyone suddenly knows a guy. COVID didn't just flatten the curve, it aged bourbon culture into dog years. The internet didn't just share bottles, it made them into content, trophies, and currency. And flippers didn't just chase bottles, they turned a community into a competition. Your liquor cabinet isn't just a collection anymore, it's a battlefield, a portfolio, a flex zone, and sometimes a therapy session. So, next time you see a bottle and think, do I need this? Ask yourself, do I want to drink it or do I want to post it? If this episode hit a little too close to your liquor cabinet, you know the drill. Smash that like button, subscribe, and remember, you don't have a bourbon problem. You have a COVID plus internet plus flippers problem. Want the full experience and deeper understanding? You can check out my previous episodes: Bourbon Market Crash or Correction, Allocated Bourbons Explained, and the Allocated Bourbon Code. Bourbon still only has one real purpose: open it, pour it, enjoy it, and maybe, just maybe, flex a little bit. Bourbon Hunter Anonymous, meeting adjourned. And that's another pour down. If you enjoyed hanging out in the hunt today, don't leave me standing here like an empty bottle on a Sunday morning. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment about what I should track down next. Remember, bourbon may age gracefully, but my YouTube channel only grows if you feed it. I'll see you in the next hunt. Cheers, bourbon hunters.